All right, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Wired Differently. We've got, as usual, your three hosts, but we've got a guest here today. So we've got me, Christina Blue Hooper, as your business designer, Victoria as our fractional COO and people systems specialist, Mindset Melanie Branch that helps entrepreneurs get out of their own way and get stuff done, and our special guest, Kristina Proctor from Neurodivergent Ventures.
Yay, I'm so excited.
So excited. I think we're about as excited to host you as you are to be here. So good times. Good times. Awesome. Now, I know you've worked for a while. You've been a student at the Academy for a long time, and then you've worked one-on-one with Melanie. So I like to just do this to people to kind of throw things off basis a little bit. Melanie, will you explain a little bit about what Kristina does?
Oh my God. Yes. I'm so glad you passed that one off to me. Kristina has really created a space and a number of frameworks that allows neurodivergent ADHD, especially professionals who want to climb the corporate ladder and or branch out from corporate specifically into entrepreneurship, really helps them work with what they've got to ascend to what they want, right? So people really come to her going, okay, so I know I have ADHD and I know I want to do all these things, but I just don't have any ways to do them. And she really helps them sort everything out in their life, mentally, emotionally, physically, with systems and strategies, and really turns them into superstars.
Ooh, I love that.
That's better than what
Yeah.
That's why I started doing
the right person to do that.
That's why I started doing it that way, because like often it's harder for us to introduce ourselves than it is for somebody else to introduce you, which is why it's so amazing to have partners and to be hosted in other spaces in your business. So it tends to just work really well. I love it. I love it.
It boosted me up a little bit too. I'm like, she knows that's exactly what I do.
And they say it better than you can say it. And then you learn things about yourself that you're like, oh, like so from another person's perspective.
Yeah. I love the phrase of making you a superstar.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, and it gives you other people's language, which I think is something that a lot of times as the specialist in what you do, you don't always have the same language that somebody else would have. So you're not using the same things they would search or the same things that they would connect with. So hearing it from somebody else's perspective is super helpful. And I know as a student in the Academy, one of the things that we've worked on is expanding to come at this problem from both sides, which is kind of interesting. So you're dealing with ADHD in the workplace, and you've, did a lot of work from the employee side, and you've recently started shifting into the employer side and doing more there. How has that impacted things? Like how has coming at it from both sides changed your business or changed how you approach these problems?
Well, and how it's changed my business is that it's actually made my business more flexible from like a logistics standpoint when it comes to finances too. So like on the business side of the business, it makes it so I've got financial revenue streams coming in from two different directions. One takes a little bit longer to execute, the business side, when you're talking about contracts, negotiations, timelines, trainings. The other one is more working directly with people one-on-one, and that has, fewer hoops to jump through, and people get to make that decision themselves. So financially, it's been great for my business, but logistically, when it comes to system and processes, I'm taking a lot of the stuff that I have utilized and created because of the Neuro-Spicy Academy, and y'all looking at me and saying, stop making new things, repackage them, Christina. And so I've been able to take the repackaging direction from all three of you. I had a conversation over the course of the week independently with each of you on your different specialties, and took what I utilize in my one-on-one and reframed it for the businesses, because I thought I was going to have to create a whole new system and a whole new something for them. And that's just not true. And so it's been able to be flexible while also diversifying my income streams for my business.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
And one thing about Kristina is you go in there and you put in the work. You utilize the resources available to you. You follow the process and you do the work.
Yeah. And that's
That's key. That's critical.
And I think that's often a misconception whenever you join an organization or a group. We try to it's like getting new shoes to work out, right? The new shoes, the new tennis shoes are not going to get you to your fitness goal.
Yeah.
Like they are a tool that'll help you get there that you need. But at the end of the day, you have to put in the work. And so but one of the great things about the Neuro-Spicy Academy that has helped me is not just the accountability, but also the redirection when I'm feeling overwhelmed, because as somebody with ADHD and dyslexia, there's lots of times where there's so many directions I can go. And so it's been helpful to have y'all, as well as the other students in the Neuro-Spicy Academy, hold each other accountable, but also support to be able to be like, you can do this, you can, and you do. And it's also really cool too, to see other people succeeding in the Neuro-Spicy Academy, where you can be like, okay, this is not a crazy thing. I am not making myself out to be somebody that I'm not. I can do this. And so that's a part of the success of the Academy too.
Yeah. I mean, that's no small feat to actually come see all of us on campus separately at different times.
No,
get advice from 3 different people and put it all together, right? Like that's not a simple feat, but we're pretty aligned on what we talk about most of the time. So we're usually not conflicting, I would hope.
No, there's always different types of feedback perspectives.
Yeah.
Right.
And at the same time, y'all are in alignment when it comes to repackaging, not recreating, making it simple, making it sustainable. I talked about that with Victoria the first time you and I talked one-on-one. I had a really difficult time kickstarting, connecting with somebody about holding space for an in-person seminar. And I was like, I don't even know.
What, 3 of those booked now?
Yeah, exactly. I've got 3 of those booked now, and I'll be in process for marketing those. And that's a part of that process next. But I didn't know how to start those conversations or what I should be looking for as somebody booking space. And so I was able to talk through a very simple rubric of being like, this is what's in the email. This is what you want to make sure is included. And this is how you want to maintain that relationship. And I'm like, oh.
It's nice too, because we know what the other person would say. So when I'm having a conversation with you about whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, in my head, I'm saying, all right, well, Christina's going to make her think about this, this, and this. Victoria's going to make her think about this, this, and this. So let me make sure I cover my area and then say, hey, go talk to them about X, Y, Z. And I'll know that it'll all fit together because we know each other's, zone of genius so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Like I'll be like, I know Melanie would approach this way. I'm not the expert in it, but I know this is, so you should go talk to her. Or like, I know how Victoria would approach this. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it so much. Oh my God. Okay. I want to keep
looking at your stuff too, Kristina, when you was like, okay, take a look at this and this is what I'm working on. And I'm looking at your stuff thinking like, wow, this is groundbreaking. Like this
major
groundbreaking.
Yeah. And it really, really, really is.
Yeah. And well, I mean, and a lot of working at the Neuro-Spicy Academy is understanding what you're building and within the context of markets, because y'all have such deep and wide breadth of experience where like I make this, and this is common with neurodivergent brain, right? We think other people think this way too. We think other people have already made these things. And I'm like, oh, this is something I threw together for a client, but I think it might be helpful for other people. And y'all are looking at me like, yes.
Yeah.
This is not something that we've seen. And we did Google searches and talk with ChatGPT, and I don't see it there either. So it's a framework that I'm going to be bringing to help organizations and individuals really streamline their work and create a process to, especially for leaders, to be able to identify where is my role in this team, where are my team's roles, and where are the gaps.
It's like the leadership template. Like, you know how 5-minute manager, 10-minute manager, whatever that is such a big deal. This leadership template that she came up with, when I saw it, my jaw dropped so low that I was like, are you sure you didn't read this in a book? Are you sure this isn't already out there somewhere?
Well, and like I was even wondering that too.
But this is good.
Yeah, and somebody who talks about leadership stuff all the time, it's like, I saw this and I said, huh. Now we had to work through some messaging and, and all of that, and defining certain things, and all of us piped in on that. But I sat back and I was like, wow, this is something. It's big.
Yeah. But I've been able to do that because I had the space with y'all, right? To talk it through and to say, this is unclear and this is really cool. You're going to want to look at not just Google, but talk with chat, use these prompts to see where else this lives. Maybe we change this wording, or this is unclear. So I have more confidence in that leadership matrix tool. And I'm excited about it.
It's great stuff. I'm excited.
And you've always been so willing to go talk to humans, which is one of the biggest things that we say all the time. Like, the shortcut to success is to have conversations with humans. I mean, even your workshops that you're doing, you got your spaces, 3 different spaces at no cost to you, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
And this is talking to humans. You already had the connections in your network to open those doors. They were just sitting there the whole time. And most people are so afraid to do that.
And one of the things that I've learned, especially one-on-one with Mel and your entrepreneur glow up, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Is you are not somebody who is an inconvenience to others. Good people in your group, in your circle, want to support you. So give them the opportunity to support just the way you would want to support them in their business or their life. Because great people that you've cultivated want to be there for you too.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's important. And
Victoria, get on your soapbox. You were just talking about that.
Look, she knows. She knows.
Step up. I'll give you my hand.
Well, and like I had situations where I was feeling, I told, I've got an accountability buddy, Marco Polo, with some other people. And I was telling him I was a little nervous going over a certain topic in my group program. And because it was a new topic for me to cover. And they were like, do you want us to come? So we can also ask questions and like support you. And 2 of them were able to come and help facilitate conversation. And it's like having them there alone as supports lifted up the conversation with the other people that were in the program that I have as one of my monthly offers with my membership. And it was wonderful.
Profitable relationships look very different. There's a lot of different kind of profitable relationships when you're an entrepreneur. Remember that.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to financially have that support, but moral support, financial support's also great. But yeah, they all look very different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's not a one-to-one thing too. I think a lot of times we think about our like social capital as like currency. And like, well, I haven't done anything for them in 6 months. I can't ask them to do something for me. Yeah. And it doesn't work that way, right? Like I've got friends who have lifted me up and have supported me and have done like so many things to help me. And I haven't been able to do anything for them yet.
Yes.
But they know I will when they need it. So it's, it's not a one-to-one thing. It's not like you have to build up a ton of social capital before you can make an ask.
Absolutely.
Right? If you're a good human, people want to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's helpful too. I have a client who's also a good friend of mine, and we talk very regularly. And she messaged me the other day and said, I promise you, I'm getting you the video testimonial very, very soon. You're here on my list. I promise you, I'm sending you the video testimonial. I said, okay. And then yesterday when I went to write an email, or 2 days ago, I don't know, with ChatGPT, I inserted one of the things that she always says to me when we work together as the testimonial, and then texted her and said, by the way, you're the testimonial in my email. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm getting that to you right now. And I was like, listen, I'm okay if you take your time getting me the video one, as long as you're okay with me using your words in my emails about what it is that happens. Because I mean, everybody's busy. Really recognizing, let me help you where I can is so important.
Yeah.
Well, I love that you brought that up too, like pivoting to testimonials, because one of the things that y'all taught me, because that's a part of it too, right, is understanding your value within the context, because people want to help. And so there might be people who you initially did pro bono work as a way to learn how to coach, how a system works. And a part of that too could be like, you do this, and I would love a testimonial at the end, even if it's feedback in the form of feedback. And 9 times out of 10, I got one, and I can use that now for marketing, but also for feedback on the process and the programs. And people
and messaging
and messaging.
Yes, it's huge.
And sometimes testimonials come in the form of thank you, this is life-changing, through email. And it's like, thank you, can I use this? And they're like, yes.
Yeah.
And you need those. You have to capture those. You have to collect them. You have to get permission to post them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if somebody's just giving you positive feedback via email or in a community or something like that, you do need to say, like, is it okay for me to use this? But I will tell you, even if they say no, collect it somewhere.
Yeah.
Make a database of it, put it somewhere, because it can still inform your messaging. It can
Yeah.
still make you feel a lot better about what you're doing. It can still give you good feedback about your programs, even if you can't post it. You still want to store
You can say things that people have said when they worked with me, right? Or things you can't expect when you work with me, and use the words that they said and just never say that it can't. Because I have some clients with NDAs. I'm not allowed to talk about them, which is exciting and intriguing all at the same time. So I'm allowed to say a thing that happened with a client.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to say that. And we've said that about Neuro-Spicy Academy students too, where we've said this student has agreed to share their story, but not their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I really going through
it.
It's
a lot in my space because of sometimes they don't want the competitors knowing who their secret sauce is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's something that it's a very common thing to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like, especially when you're working with people that are vulnerable or have things going on. Like people don't usually come to a business designer when their business is functioning well, right?
Yeah.
They come to me when it's broken, when it's got problems, when they're not making enough money, when they're afraid to, they're not gonna be able to pay your bills. That's when they come to me, right? Like I came to Melanie at one of my most broken times in my entire life in my mindset, and it's like we come when we're broken, and sometimes people don't want to share their stories and their testimonials. They don't want that out in the world. So you have to be careful and manage that, but you can still, store them, use the messaging. It's still great. So I love it.
One of the things I do with my testimonials in those moments where they might not necessarily want me to share is I've started adding those types of feelings and thoughts to my roadmaps. So I know mindset wise where people should be pacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I know that by the third or fourth, people usually trend to be, I never thought things could be this easy, or this way I can do this. This feels great. If people aren't pacing there, there's other work we have to do. And so now it's helpful because I know where people are on a mental, like on a mindset level. And I learned a lot of that from Mel. And then I can align it with where we are and where we need to go.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a lot of work. I know that she just dropped that, like she's been doing that all her whole entire life, but that was a lot of work as an entrepreneur to plan a program, to figure out the benchmarks, to figure out the pacings, to understand the language and how they talk and how that shifts week after week after week, and be able to tell if it's working or if it isn't working. Like that's not easy, y'all, as an entrepreneur. That's just a lot of work. Intentionally designing the program, talking to humans, understanding the outcome of the program. Hey, that's a lot of work to do that.
And it takes a long time to get there if you're doing it alone.
Yeah.
That's what it's so amazing about the Academy, because you can take what we would take 10 years to learn the hard way and just condense it down into months.
Yeah.
Well, that was literally what we all set out to do. We're like, this is what people need. This is where they tend to fall apart. This is where things tend to break. How can we prevent those predictable breakage points? Right?
Yeah.
So that's what we all set out to do. And that's what you're trying to do for your clients too. Like anybody, and this is what we teach at the Academy. If you're helping a human on their journey, it's their journey, right? You're only working with people who can get there anyway.
Right.
You're stepping in to make their journey faster, easier, or more successful. That's the point. Yeah. And Katina's done the work. That's some work to do that.
It's work.
I love that.
It's work, and it's so beautiful to see this whole transition, and in such a, because it took us a whole lot longer.
Yeah. It's like I love what I'm seeing students do, because I'm like, it took me like 10 years to learn that one. They just skipped over it in like 2 weeks. It's like, yay. Yeah. And also like, where was this when I was trying?
Absolutely.
Exactly. And we became the solution that we needed.
Yeah.
And that's why I came to the Neuro-Spicy Academy, and I stay at the Neuro-Spicy Academy, because as I grow and as I do these things, that I get to skip over some of those, what I call friction points in my coaching or roadblocks or whatever. I stay at the Neuro-Spicy Academy long-term because as my business grows and as I grow as an entrepreneur, I have new challenges that I face.
Yes.
And I think that you also have to say, I am not sure how to even go this next step. Like, what are some things to think about? And that's why I stay long term.
Yeah. It's important to remember that a good book or a good story is plagued with problems. The thing that we hang on to every word for is the next problem and the next challenge. So at no point are we manifesting or building a problem-free life. We're manifesting bigger, better problems is really what we're doing, right? And we're manifesting a better way to deal with it and to, take it on the chin instead of letting it cap us at the knees and keep moving forward and understanding that the growth is part of the journey. Because here's one thing too, this one always slaps everybody in the face when I say it. If it got dropped in your lap right now, would you be able to handle it?
Oh, I know. It always is like,
yeah. That's like anytime anybody tells me that the service they're selling in their business is like so great and so amazing. And I'm like, if you got 10 more clients right now for that service, could you handle it? And the answer is almost always no.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, you don't have a marketing problem, right? Yeah. Everybody thinks they have a marketing problem. And it's like, you don't have a marketing problem if you can't handle 10 clients right now.
Exactly.
Boom. You know what would be fun to do on Wired Differently one day is to bring an actual problem and have people kind of see how y'all work through it.
I'm writing it down.
I volunteer as tribute. If you ever want to do that, and I'll be vulnerable and be like, this is my challenge I'm facing because I think the entrepreneurial journey can feel very lonely. We think, especially as somebody who's neurodivergent, we think that we should know because life is already challenging for us in lots of other ways. So entrepreneurship is a challenge and also a great way to live life if this is something that works for you and your needs. But I think I
love that you added that if it's something that works for your life and your needs. That is so important.
Yes.
So important. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I've got a client in my current monthly membership, which is called The Collective, where we work a lot about how to elevate your job and your corporate ladder, how you want to go up. Yeah, my words are not working this morning. And so it's really welcome to being ADHD. And so it's a great way if you're wanting to improve your communication skills, you're wanting to elevate your goals and get to that next big step. And they want to go and do exactly that and get their master's degree and go into like federal government roles. And so we're working on a lot of communication and goal setting right now. And that person, not interested in entrepreneurship, zero interest. Yeah. They want to do community level work and then work up into federal policy. We need people like that. Right?
Yeah.
And they need people like me to help them elevate those goals and those priorities. And I think we all kind of align with that. I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody wants choice, right? So, and that's something that we talk about a lot, that we define, like, it's hard to come up with a universal definition of success. Like, what is something that everybody would agree is success? And we defined it as choice. Right? The freedom of choice, being able to choose, which means you have to have money, you have to have time, you have to have your mind in the right place. You have to, like there's so many stars that have to align for you to be able to make big choices, like where you go on vacation, how long you're gone, small choices, like I don't feel like cooking tonight, I'm going to DoorDash it and, I'll pay the extra $100 in fees to get my food sent to my house. Like being able to do those kind of things is success. And that doesn't always mean entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is different things, right?
Yeah.
It's everything from a freelance type business where you're still trading time for money.
Yep.
It's owning a company, one company where you're really focused on running it and building a team underneath it. And it's being an entrepreneur who might have multiple companies, multiple revenue streams, multiple investments, multiple things going on. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can still create that by investing personally. Right. So you can still invest in other stuff. You can still support entrepreneurs. You can still get profit share from things. You can still do stuff.
Right.
And just create that success that way. So I think that's something I really hope people are listening, because a lot of times we look at as entrepreneurs as rock stars, like we're the rock stars of this generation.
Yeah.
Like because we only post the good things. Right, so you have to keep that in mind, right? Entrepreneurs sharing all the glamour of life. We're not usually sharing those late nights and the hair pulling sessions and my brain won't let me do this thing that's due to client at 3. Right? We're not sharing those things most of the time. Or if we do, it's when it's in the rearview mirror.
It's in the rearview mirror.
We'll tell you about the problems, but we've already solved them. So of course we look like rock stars.
So now it's great because we got a solution. Here it is.
Well, and that's the great thing too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go for it.
I was just going to say that's the great thing about being able to be a part of the Neuro-Spicy Academy is y'all are able to look at us and we can talk about solutions and direction and how to prevent shiny object syndrome and how to acknowledge it. And there's also moments where y'all will say, you seem a little overwhelmed. Is that what you're feeling right now? And sometimes I say, yes. And we say, okay, let's take a step back and make this a little bit smaller so that we can keep moving and not get too overwhelmed, or do you need a break? And Christina and I have had that conversation more than once, especially when I'm working on new stuff where I'm like, I created a whole new offering. And she was like, why? What? That?
She wasn't the only one who said why.
Yeah.
Sure wasn't.
Sure wasn't.
And you know what's the funny thing about this thing? We have the same as the mentors, partners. We have these discussions with each other.
Victoria smacked me several times for trying to make new things. So has Melanie. Melanie, like constantly, when I'm talking about doing new things at the academy or something, she'll be like, is this a new thing? Or is this something we already planned? And you're just now getting to it. Like
I can picture Mel with her nails saying that. Like I get a dopamine hit whenever Mel's like this. Like
it is something
exactly how Melanie would approach it. Mine is totally different, but
people need anchor points, and I like to remind everybody of their anchor points, right? And anchor points are going to be the things like when you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I feel like hot shit, let's make some content. What you're going to do then is say, what is going to bring me in the most amount of money today? What is the most longevity building thing, whatever it is, right? And let's make content around the free ebook. Let's make content around the paid ebook. Let's make content around my one-on-one sessions. Let's make content around testimonials, right? So let's think about what's going to grow my email list, what's going to put money in my pocket today, what's going to benefit me in the future. And those are your anchor points. If you have 12 anchor points, we don't need to create another offer.
And that is why I worked with you for so long.
Well, and I mean, think about it too, though. Sales is complicated. Sales and marketing are complicated. It is so hard to figure out how to position our offers the right way, get our messaging dialed in, get these things converting right. If you have 12 things that you can offer somebody, whether it's like free ebooks, checklists, services, like all of you, think about everything in your catalog that somebody can get from you.
Yeah.
If you have 12 different things and you're trying to pitch them all at the same time, you are trying to become a master of marketing and sales in 12 things at one time. Like
with 2 arms.
My mind went in 47 different directions and they all basically are saying, you're right.
I'm like, stop creating.
I mean, that's why I teach people to do a focus product, or if you're really creative, give yourself a container. Like one of the things that the academy did for me was give me a safe space to create, because like I'm not launching new products. I'm not launching new companies, because I was doing that a lot as a business designer. I can build companies fast. So I was launching new ones all the time.
Victoria.
Inside the academy, I can just keep doing it. Yeah. She's had to help rein me in. I think I had 8.
I have help with it
totally
now.
Different companies.
I remind people that it doesn't mean that you don't get to be creative continuously. What it does mean is you could have what I affectionately call a parking lot. And if your brain is like, I need to make this now, put it in a Google Doc, write it out, do a voice memo and save it in a parking lot folder and just be like, it's there for when I'm ready to kind of jump in. And if it still stays there and you're starting to develop it like long-term, maybe like you can start exploring that, but like you don't need to. I'm guilty of this. Go in and create a whole new offering and throw everything you've made out the window, because that also is hard on sales funnel. That's hard on your long-term marketing. That's hard for your potential
It's hard for
clients.
scale. You can't scale when you're constantly creating like that, because then you're creating, but there's no leverage. And I love that word.
You're
There's
never
no
marketing
leverage.
it.
And
and you can't train a team to deliver it. So, I mean, it's like, as an entrepreneur, you're not trying to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. That's not your goal. Every time you launch a new product, your time investment into your company needs to increase.
That's right.
Right. Because now you have got this new thing and you need to do more marketing. You need to do more sales. You need to do more staff training. If you don't have an extra 10 hours a week in your week right now, if you cannot find 10 hours, you can't launch a new product.
So that's
when the new products come. It's like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm burnt out. I need to create.
Yeah.
So that's a mic drop moment that you get constantly in the academy from Kristina, Victoria, and Mel. It's stuff like that. If you don't have extra 10 hours a week, you cannot launch a new product. And for me,
and be successful. Let's put those things together. You cannot launch a new product and be successful at it. You can launch a new product and we're all going to roll our eyes and say, okay. And then in a month from now say, well, how are those sales? Good? No. Okay. Great.
Yeah. Well, and it distracts you from the first product. So a lot of times people abandon the product when they're having trouble selling it, and they abandon it so fast. And it's like, it can take you 3 to 6 months to perfect selling a product. Because there's so much that gets involved in it, right? You have to get your messaging, you have to get your marketing, you have to get in front of the right people. You have to optimize your conversion pages. You have to, like, do I need a video on that page? Is that going to help? What questions do people have that are keeping them from buying? Then you actually get someone that wants to buy. Now there's a whole nother set of problems. Like, how are you going to get them through the sales process? What does onboarding them look like? What if they quit after their first month because you didn't do things the right way when you got them in? Because you're not just troubleshooting marketing, you're troubleshooting sales, you're troubleshooting onboarding, you're troubleshooting retention, you're troubleshooting actually delivering what you said you were. Because a lot of times we build something and we think it's going to have one outcome. And it has a completely different one. That's not always bad.
Totally different.
Sometimes it's good.
Totally different.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a lot of work. It'll take you, 6 months or so to really get a product. And that's if you know what you're doing, and if you're monitoring the right things, and if you've designed it the right way, and if you've done all the things that most people don't know to do. Right. It's going to take you about 6 months.
Yeah.
Minimum. I mean, and how I feel about your time frames.
That's to even just get it ready. Right? Like, it's at least 6 months to get it ready. Now, if you're going to bring staff in to help you, that's a minimum of another 6 months to get your staff fully up to speed. Because when you have it built out the right way, you know what you need someone to step in and do. So that helps with the hiring and the finding of people. But that's still a whole nother skill set to learn. How to find the right people, how to interview the right people, how to hire the right people, how to manage the right people, how to get them up to speed on what your company does, who your clients are, what their role is in this one product. So, I mean, like, listen to what we just said and listen to them telling me it's probably longer. We just said it's about a year. To design a good product, launch a good product, get it marketed, get it sold, make sure it's delivering, and bring staff on board to get you out of a lot of the day-to-day of it. Yeah. A year. Yeah. And some of you were launching new products every couple of weeks.
And, not for nothing, when you get that itch, because you're neurodivergent, you're going to get that restless itch. It depends on what point in your cycle you're at, what's going on. If your husband's out of town for 2 weeks, so you have no distractions. Wait, that's just me. But like, really, if you're going to get that creative itch, it's happened. I'm working 12-hour days. It's so exciting. I love it. I keep forgetting that I have like kids that I have to feed. So luckily they'll speak up for themselves when they need help. Anyways, really,
they're older, creative by the way. Energy. She's not neglecting her children. Her kids.
Yeah, no, these are full-blown teenagers that can feed themselves.
They can live.
Victoria, people are going to be like,
I know.
Funnel that creative energy into your content. Funnel that creative energy into a personal passion project, right? Funnel it into a little personal development. I mean, come on, like, learn about crystals or go on your next rabbit hole and figure out the next thing that you're hyper focused on and your next special interest. Don't keep saying to yourself, I have to create this thing and then I have to create the funnel and then I have to do this thing. Create the thing that you know works, sell it and mess around with your messaging on it and what stories you tell about it and the different kinds of content that you make. Try picture posts, try B-roll, try 2-minute long videos, go on podcasts. You got to get creative about the way you market the thing. Give it a year. And then if that's not working, try another thing.
Yeah.
But that's where you put your creative energy.
That, I love that 2 of the 3 things you said, if you're getting bored, did not involve doing things in your business. Your business is going to get boring. If you're doing it right, it gets boring. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Your business will bore the snot out of you if you're doing it right, because you've got staff doing stuff. You've got clients are getting results. You're usually in your staff's way. Your business actually does better when you get out of the way as you get bigger, which is nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we have given everything that we have to our businesses most of the time, right? Like between our household, our kids, our, spouses, or all these other commitments. When our business starts to give us back some time, we immediately reinvest it back into the business. It's like, oh, don't do that. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Can we talk about how that's one of the unique selling points of the Neuro-Spicy Academy and why I stay to is the understanding that this is not, if you really wanted it, you would try harder and hustle more.
Oh,
that's not the Neuro-Spicy Academy. So if you're looking for that, the Neuro-Spicy Academy is not for you.
No.
Yeah, we're probably going to tell you to hustle less.
Yeah. So that's one of the great things is that I've achieved.
You're not going to hustle. You're going to flow.
6 months with my business than I had in the first year and a half. I worked on mindset. I worked on systems. I worked on the design of the business. I worked on my avatars. There's a lot. Now that I'm naming that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have done a lot. It's not about hustle.
It is.
It's not about hustle, because the more I hustled as somebody with ADHD, the more exhausted and the energy plummeted. And so I was able to learn how to work with myself within the context of my business and not fight myself to say and shame myself. And that's one of the great things that people do too, is that is not, y'all are not about the hustle. Y'all are about the long-term sustainability. And to really,
and we model the behavior. How many times have we all been on campus? Everybody's body double, everybody's talking, we're all having a good time, and somebody's internet starts going wonky, or somebody starts yelling at their kid, or something starts happening, and we see the overstimulation coming over them, and somebody will say, have you eaten recently? And whoever it is will be like, no, I'm going to go eat. And we're like, maybe you could eat something. You're like, I'm going to go eat something. I'll be back. And then they come back 20, 30 minutes later and they're like, okay, thanks guys. I'm so much better now. Right?
A whole nother person is back.
Yeah. It's very true. And that modeling is very important. Working with a one-on-one client I had this morning, going through goals, they were doing a short exercise with me live. And instead of in some of the other coaching containers I've been in prior to Neuro-Spicy Academy, it was like, you are professional, you show up, this is how you look, which is great. And I agree, we still need to be professional as much as possible. But in a moment, I needed to really be a human and say, I forgot my store-bought dopamine. I need to go take that right now before my day kind of gets a little, but that's not something that previously I was told would be appropriate. And instead it's like, no, y'all model. It's like, oh, I need to go get some water. Let me go do that and I'll be right back. And I
need a dopamine drink, a little snack. Yeah.
I don't need to earn to go to the bathroom break. That was always my guilty point. But that's, Yeah,
I mean, people walk around and do stuff. I mean, there are times some people take us into the bathroom. Now they mute and they turn their camera off.
Okay.
But some people take us into the bathroom. I mean, it's they're on the phone.
I miss those meetings.
I miss those meetings.
And we've got people that come and have, they'll be on campus, no makeup on, don't have their teeth in, no eyebrows, because you don't have to be. This is where we can be ourselves and hang out and have a good time and get help and get support. And you don't have to show up all glamored up every single time you come on campus. It makes you feel good.
First time we would meet with Melanie and she would just disappear from the camera. I'm like, where did she go?
I was so used to it at that point. I didn't think anything of it. I'm just, Victoria's just sitting here stop talking, was looking around, and I'm like, why did we stop talking? I was like, I'm sorry.
You just disappeared. No warning, no nothing. And she's continuing the conversation. And I'm like, well, Melanie's gone. We're talking about And she's like, oh no, she does that. And I'm like, oh, she's still around. She's just, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people that don't like to have their cameras on, so they're just sitting here talking through chat.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that me and Victoria and Melanie talk about this all the time. Like, we're watching all these bro marketers do stuff, and they're doing these webinars. It's like, why are they doing it this way? This makes no sense. Like, it's so pushy, it's so icky, but it's working for them. And like, we think we have to be pushy, icky, and make it work for us. And you don't. You just don't have to.
Feel good.
No.
No.
And I talk to my clients about that all the time. I had a client recently ask, would it bother you if I took a walk while we did coaching calls and we can just do audio? And I was like, they were like, I know that video is a part. I'm like, no, if you need to walk and move and that's a part of your process, I've got a recording and it has a transcript with next steps. So like, we can just have that conversation. There will be some days where we do active on screen goal setting and stuff like that. But if we're talking through challenges and friction points, let's get up and move, because that's so y'all showing how that works from like a client level as a client. And then me being able to pass it on to my clients as somebody who coaches ADHD and neurodivergent people has been amazing, because it gives me that confidence to say, like, y'all make me feel seen. And this is how I can also pass that on to my client.
Oh, that demonstrates something that I talk about a lot too. So a lot of times when people are getting ready to hire staff and to work themselves out of their business, one of the biggest pushbacks that I hear is, I really like working one-on-one with my clients. I get this value from working one-on-one with my clients. It makes me feel good. And I always say, you're still going to feel good as long as you're talking to your clients and you're talking to your staff and you're hearing about what's happening with the clients, and your impact scales, right? Instead of you being able to work one-on-one, you're working with your staff and your staff is having an impact. That just happens, right? We had an impact on Kristina. Kristina took that and had an impact on her clients. And we get to celebrate that. It still feels great, right? It's the same kind of thing with your staff. You're still going to celebrate it. It's still going to feel good. You're still part of it.
Exactly.
Just at a bigger level.
Is at a different level. And then when you get to a certain point, you can do it because you want to.
Yeah. You can always step back in anywhere you want.
Come in and just do it again, because you don't have to. You have the staff running, if you get the right staff in the right environment and all of this stuff. But you can choose to step in and say, hey, I want to be involved at this level, but you know you can walk away.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Or, I mean, we talk about goal setting all the time. And from a coaching perspective, Kristina always brings up the point that what I do with people is very deep and very personal, and a group coaching session is not always ideal for the nitty gritty that I get into with my clients. So when you're thinking about structuring your coaching or consulting business for scale, when I see my big, abundant, prosperous future, I see me working with 3 people for $100,000 a month each, right? Like, the people that get me because of the energy and the impact and the transformation that I provide, that's on my time. And I'm not running the day to day. I have other coaches working underneath me and doing all that stuff, right? But I don't really see myself building a group coaching container that goes big, because the results that I want for people are personal and they don't always want to share it around people. So when you're imagining how big you want it to go or what you want it to be, you can take notes from people that you really admire, but you don't have to do exactly what they do.
Yeah.
Which is,
did anybody in the audience just go, there's no way somebody would pay me $100,000 a month?
Oh, yes.
Did everybody just have that moment? I'm gonna blow your mind even more. More.
Yeah.
There are people that will pay $100,000 for a day with you.
Yeah, it's wild.
A day. I know people charging that and managing to sell it several times throughout the year whenever they want to. I know one who charges that. And you don't even get a day with them. You get an invitation to be on the plane when him and his partners are flying somewhere.
So you can just like talk with them. Wow.
While they're already on the plane traveling to somewhere. This is not even extra time out of their day. You can just ride the plane for 100. Dude, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know people who are doing that on a regular basis. And even on a smaller level, like, it is very common to see $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 VIP days.
So I, as a Neuro-Spicy Academy student, a lot of stuff that we've worked on too has to do with not just pricing and mindset, which is a key part of it too, but also pricing over time.
Yeah.
How can I ask how y'all approach that? Because I have ADHD and sometimes I forget. How do y'all approach raising prices?
Yeah, there's a couple of strategies you can use there. I mean, one is that you're positioning something as a launch or a beta or a limited time. So you're positioning it with a discount is one strategy. Yep. Another strategy is to bolt more on, right? So we can say like, this is the first time we're running this. And for everybody who comes in this first time, I'm going to bonus in like an extra one-on-one session with everybody in the workshop or something along those lines. You can do that. However, I will say no matter what you do, ever, and this blows people's mind more than anything else I do with people, is you need to understand your minimum hourly billable rate. You have to know that number, because that is going to mean that no matter what you do, no matter what pricing strategy you use to launch and grow and change your prices over time, it's always profitable.
Yeah.
We're not going to launch when you're not making enough money. You're not gambling with like a tripwire or something that's going to cost you a lot of money if it goes wrong, right? We're looking for profitability right out of the gate. Now, if you are making less than $250,000 a year right now, less than $250,000 a year, I will tell you your hourly rate is $230 an hour minimum. Yeah. You can't charge less than $230.
That's a lot of clarity for everybody out there thinking, because we set prices and haven't even thought about all the expenses and the costs that come with it. And like you always say, Christina, I did it myself, so it's free. And it's like, no, you didn't get paid.
Yeah.
If you're making less than $250,000 a year, 50%, $125,000 a year is yours. Yours.
Yeah.
So like if anybody's not following Profit First from Mike McAllowitz, this is where this is coming from. I'm not just making numbers up. Okay. 50% is yours. The other goes into expenses, taxes, and savings, right? That's where the other 50% is going. 30% is your expenses. That means everything your business has to buy fits into 30% of your income. All of your software, all of your staff, all of everything is in that 30%.
Yeah.
Right. And 50% is going in your bank account. So if you're trying to bring home 10K a month, your business has to make 20. Has to. Right. And then the other side of that is a lot of times we don't realize how much time we actually put in each week into billable time. As an entrepreneur, best case scenario in a 40-hour work week, 20 hours is going to go to billable time. The other 20 is going to operations, marketing, all this other stuff. Directly billable to client time. Some people are doing good to even get to 20. Because they're so busy and all this other stuff, they can't even get 20. So usually I'll ask things like, well, I just did this to Victoria yesterday, I think it was, or day before. Like, how many clients do you think you can have in this service? And she's like, well, I could probably only have one at a time. We know that one client can't occupy all of her billable time. So if she's only got 20 hours a week in billable time, then even though we don't know exactly how much time this project's going to take, we can say that she can't spend more than 10 hours a week. That's half of her billable time on one client.
Right.
So we can run that math and we can figure out our minimum hours. If you've got 10 billable hours and we know that you got to make this much and this is blah, blah, like we can run the math and we can get to your minimum hourly rate. So if you know that immediately is going to help you. And if you're doing any live calls, I tell people to double and potentially even triple their time. So like if you're meeting with a client in a 90-minute block once a week, right? We need to assume that's 90 minutes. We're going to double that at least. So it's going to take you 3 hours to manage that client. Minimum.
Yeah.
If you're meeting with them less frequently, I usually triple it. So like if you're doing every other week meetings, 90 minutes, then I'm going to triple that time investment in a month. Because you've got calls, you've got emails, you've got preparation, you've got follow-up, there's so many other things. The calls can run over by 15 minutes here and there. If every call runs over by 15 minutes.
And that's especially important for.
That's another hour.
Agency owners really need to pay attention to this too. Anybody who's a social media manager or in digital design, what is it? Well, you know all the stuff I'm talking about. If you are being hired by a client and then you're doing a lot of work for that client, you're doing their social media, you're doing their website, all that sort of shit. Billable hours are a very important part of that structure, especially if you're just starting out. Don't just start out and say, you're my first client. I'm going to give you 50% off. This is what's going to happen. I'm brand new. Do you think my first client knows they were my first client? No. Do you think I acted like I had done this many times before when they said, do you have a contract? I said, yep, I'll send it right over. Google how to make a contract for a coaching client real quick, right? So really be cognizant of how many hours a week do you want to be working? And if I'm a coach, so I'm not doing work for my clients. I'm meeting with them. I'm going through the work with them in that call. And then I'm responding to their questions and I'm asking them questions throughout the week. But I'm not making anything for them. I'm just checking in to make sure they're making what they said they were going to make. Right.
Yeah.
So really think
another
about.
One I hear is, I'm learning it, I should charge less. I hear that a lot too. Like, this is the first time I'm doing it. I'm still learning how, so I'm going to charge less. Yeah, that's where the billable hour breakdown comes into play. You have 20 billable hours in a week. You have 20 non-billable hours in a week. We're not charging the client less for the learning curve. The learning curve hours are coming from your 20 non-billable. If you had to go do research and you had to go do this stuff, this is professional development. This is education. This is where you're learning and improving and becoming a better guru and doing all your non-billable hour stuff is over here. So if it still took you time to do the thing, we're still billing the client. We're doing the thing. We're not getting a discount because we do it better, right? So when you get to be an expert at it and I can do it in half the time, I'm not charging less because I can do it faster. They're paying for the experience I put in to do it faster.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's a part of the learning too for me. And that was a mental mindset thing for me. It was like going through the modules in the academy, going through the mindset exercises, going to y'all's workshops, pacing that work. So I didn't like overly do it and get burned out. Like pacing that work is an investment of my time in my business. And so I would have activities that I would do throughout the week.
And you asked about also increasing prices too. And it's going to come to the point, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're going to have to, because your time is going to become more limited. So especially in the coaching and consulting space, your demand on your time is going to increase, but you don't have more time. So now you're going to have to increase just to stay in equilibrium or whatever. You're going to have to increase that, let's say if you're doing one-on-one, if you choose to continue to do one-on-one, or if you choose to do something like a group session, that's not an option for everyone. Right. Like Melanie said, that's not really maybe what she wants to do, but she's going to have to increase. And then eventually, guess what? You get up to that $100,000. Because now the demand has created that. So you'll know when it's time to increase, because if you got so much demand at this price and you can't fulfill it, that means you need to start increasing.
And you have to be tracking your stuff. You should be changing your pricing, changing what you deliver based on your profit margins. You should, even when we reach a point of stability in the business, right? Because we just talked about when you launch something, it can take you a year to really get it dialed in, to figure out what you should try to get all these answers to this product. Once a year, even when you're at that point of stability, you're still evaluating your prices. And I'm going to blow your mind again a little bit. Your prices are going up 3% every year, no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
No matter what. Right. Because cost of living increases on average 2.8% every year. Now you need to be watching cost of living increases. It's called COLA, cost of living, something, whatever. But you look up the cost of living increase every single year, your prices need to go up at least that. The average is 3%, but you should still be watching it. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to pay your team. Right. If you don't change your prices, imagine that cost of living is going up 3% every single year. And over 5 years, you haven't changed your prices. That is a 15% difference in your pricing. So you're selling the same thing at the same price. And now you're wondering why there's no money left and you can't afford to pay your staff.
Absolutely.
Because you had to do raises for your staff. Otherwise they leave. Their cost of living is going up. That's basically like you taking 3% away from their paycheck year over year if you're not giving them a cost of living raise. That is not a performance raise. That is, it costs more to live from 1 month to the next. So for them to make the same amount of money.
Business leaders are in that category too. Like we also need that. We are.
Yeah. I mean, we get paid for the risk we take. That's the biggest difference. between an entrepreneur and an employee. Like an employee is getting paid for the hours they put in. A freelance entrepreneur is getting paid for the hours they put in. But as you start to grow and become more of an entrepreneur, it's like when you choose to invest in something, we make a decision knowing we might not get that money back. Every product we put time into launching, we might not get that money back.
It's true.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to be okay with that too. We have to be okay with abandoning products if they don't work.
Yes.
If we put the time in, it's not getting the result. We can't market and sell it the right way. We have to be able to avoid it's called sunk cost bias. Time and money that you put stuff into. We don't have to get the return back from the time and energy we put into the one thing. We can get it back from the other thing we did after we threw that thing away.
And what's interesting with working with all three of you in the academy with stuff like that is that it's not always that it didn't work. It may also be not right now.
Not right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even the positioning, like we were talking, like I was talking to a prospect the other day, and they've put so much time, energy into creating something, but had not spoken to one person they had intended to sell it to. And it's like, you have to talk to the people you intend to sell it to. And it doesn't mean you have to trash the product.
Right. No.
So we want to avoid having to do all of those, do the market research first.
Yes.
And maybe you won't $50,000
I just found
creating something nobody wants to buy.
Yeah.
There is an incredible marketing, like doing the research on what people in your industry really want. This is one of the reasons why I love TikTok so much. If you are active on TikTok and you post on TikTok consistently for your business, go to your search little magnifying glass and type in creator search insights, and it'll pop up. And it is TikTok created it to show you everything and at what percentage people are searching in your niche. So TikTok will show you, it knows that I'm a mindset coach. So it'll search, it'll say like how to have a positive, people searching for it. Oh, I'm back. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can go there and it'll show you everything that people are Googling right now about what you do. So you can create content or create offers on those things that people are searching for. And it'll also boost your views because then you can just make a video directly from there and TikTok knows that everybody's searching for it. But if you're afraid to talk to people, put it up on your Instagram story. Say, if I were to talk about these 3 things, which would you be most interested in? And people are happy to give you their opinion, right? You don't have to be getting on the phone and doing all that, but you have to find out what people actually want in terms of who you serve and how you can help them.
And it could be a survey. You just got to reach out to people.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, someone like me who likes to talk to people. Yes, I would do that. But some might feel a little bit more, intimidated by that. Okay, stop by sending a message, a survey, and surveys are good too, because if they can do it blindly, they can get more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And anonymously, they can get more vulnerable. You got the messaging, so it's writing your marketing for you.
Yeah.
You know exactly what to say and how to say it, because maybe you're coming at your product or service from your position.
Yeah.
You're not buying your stuff.
Yeah.
You need to position.
Most of us wouldn't buy our own stuff. That usually comes into the pricing strategy. We tend to devalue our own stuff because we wouldn't need to buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
We already know it. So it doesn't have the same value to us that it would have to the person who needs it and doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh boy, how long did it take me and I'm still learning that one. I mean,
I still like, you've reminded
about
me of that one. I don't know how many times, like even in the workshop and stuff that I'm doing right now, you're like, oh, this is like a $20,000 thing. I'm like, this is like $1,000 thing. Like, what do you
Yeah. But then I do the same thing to her because it's the same thing.
Right.
She's always beating me over the head about my stuff because it's so easy for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Like, is it that hard? Like, this to me is like, it's common sense. It's not rocket science over here. And you're over here like, it kind of is.
And it is.
Yeah. Like, to me, it's rocket science because it's like, it's not something that comes naturally to me. So I would need to pay someone else to guide me and to walk me through it or to do it for me because I can't do it for myself. It's not a natural skill. It's not something that I can just go learn and just deploy. It's not working when I do it.
Yeah.
And then you looking at her like business design, and I'm just like, how did you just do that?
Yeah.
And Melanie too.
Yeah.
And we just say, you know what? Just give it over to them and pay them.
Yeah. Seriously.
And
For
do
real.
your work.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay to
I like
not
your
be good at
sneaker
things,
analogy.
Yeah.
I know, that was so good.
Because I have that with my clients a lot where they're like, this doesn't seem to be working. And I was like, how's your homework going?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, we're not telling you to hustle, but we're telling you that this isn't going to get better until you do this thing. Now, you can put off doing that thing as long as you want. That can be something you put off till next week, fine. But it's still not going to get better until you do it.
And the interesting thing long term, and I learned this working with you, Mel, was even just something as simple approach to content development, low energy content versus high energy content. When I'm high energy, I'm recording a lot so I can pace it out when I'm low energy, which is a game changer. And it's like, what I remember when it comes to pricing too, is that we're also looking for, with my clients, long-term sustainable goals and growth.
Yeah.
They can look back in a year from now when they're not necessarily working with me anymore, and they can still continue to grow because they've learned those tools and strategies to continue on with their life in a sustainable way that makes sense for them for where they are. And that is really what I'm even, again, why I'm staying in the academy, because these are sustainable things that I can do over time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love this so much. It's like, I don't want to stop talking, but I know we're like at the top of the hour here.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. I want to give
now,
Christina
I want
a
to
chance.
ask a question because I know this is going to come up.
Okay.
The Neuro-Spicy Academy, is it only for Neuro-Spicies?
Ooh, that's a good one. How do you say this, Melanie? Because you say it so well. Cater to, but designed for, something on those lines.
We welcome everyone, but we cater to neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people who were undiagnosed neurodivergent as well. I mean, I was like 39 when I figured out I had ADHD and autism. Right. So you might not know that you're neurodivergent, and you just kind of feel like you connect and relate to us a little too much.
You might be a misfit. You might be a rebel. You might march to the beat of your own drummer. You might be highly sensitive. You might be a perfectionist. Yeah.
Rule breaker.
We really can support. That's the beauty of the academy. It's because you might not need all of the extra help and resources, but you need the foundational stuff.
Yeah.
You need
really
that stuff. And if you don't need the body doubling and all of the other stuff and what we offer, that's cool. Yeah. But for those who need it, it's here.
Me. Yes.
Yep.
So
yeah, I mean, we even use it some too. Like, I'll go onto campus and body double with students and lead some body double sessions because I need the body double. Like, I need help to get work done.
I love when Kristina, my office hours, and she was just like, "Yeah, I'm just using you as a body double. I don't really have anything to."
I have Victoria's on campus. It's her time. I just need.
I'll be there when we're done here.
I think it's all of us are there, right? I think we're going right over there, right? We're supposed to be there now. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, posting your first all hands on deck Q&A at the academy now, or as soon as we get done here and heading over that way. So I want to give Kristina just a second. Will you tell people how to connect with you and give a quick rundown again of like who a good client is for you, how you help, and where they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram under ADHD Coach Kristina for both of those, and neurodivergentventures.com. And I really do help and focus on elevating not just ADHD professionals, but like y'all do with the academy, it can be anybody who's looking to level up their communication, their goals, and their life without burning out. And so if you're looking on how to set sustainable goals and really elevate your habit game, I'm your woman, so that we can really get you to that next phase that you want to be in, whether that's going into entrepreneurship or going into your next role or being an excellent leader in the organization that you're in right now.
Yeah.
And I want to throw in there too, and this is something she's still developing, so she doesn't brag on it quite as much as she should. If you actually care about your employees and you want your neurodivergent employees to be able to thrive, or even if they're not neurodivergent employees, if you want to be able to accommodate your employees and to keep them in flow states and be able to actually like think about what's going to help this person perform, Kristina's really good at that.
Yeah.
She's really good at that. Something as simple as a workshop, having that, like bringing her in to run a workshop for your team to get everybody on the same page. Something that simple can be transformative.
Absolutely.
and helping elevate your employees, to show that you care about your employees, to really listen and hear what they need and be able to accommodate that in a way that works for your business. I know she's still developing some of those offers, but I've already seen them, and I'm telling you, whoa.
I appreciate that. And I also do that.
Yeah. I love that, but I'm drawn to it a lot more as an entrepreneur myself. Like, I'm really drawn to that a little bit more, which is why I keep pointing it out.
You're like, come on, Christina.
Yeah. It's like, that's game changing, right? That's game changing. And if you have employees who do need a little bit of extra support, you can always put employees through her programs.
Yeah.
So maybe your whole company doesn't need it, or maybe you want to run a workshop for your whole company and then have her work one-on-one with a couple of people who need that extra support. And then she can kind of connect the dots between you and your employee and help you get them working like they should. So,
and I do have a client working with that right now, working with their bosses and them individually, and then together on how to address some things, because they're a game changer. They're a really amazing staff member, and they're engaged in what they do. And we're working over some challenges that they have within the organization. Yeah.
And kudos to the organization for stepping up and actually doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because and actually investing in their people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Victoria picks up when all of that's working like it should. It helps your company run, right? So like, if you can't listen to your employees and give them what they need, you're not going to get the performance you need out of them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So
and you shouldn't. That's another soapbox, but you should.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot too.
Excellent.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. I love that. All right, guys, let me pop up our other little banner. If you want to make sure that you don't miss anything ever, go to neurospicyacademy.com/show. You can watch the replays. We'll send you out reminders. You can submit questions for us to answer live on the show, all that good jazz. So there's our little CTA. And then we are going to head over to campus. So anybody who is a student, we'll see you over there here in a few minutes. If you're not a student, neurospicyacademy.com, you can do that right now. All right. Bye, guys. Until next week. Happy statures.